Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're really excited to have you here. And this is part of a regular bi-monthly program, the Songwriters Workshop. Our next program will be on Monday, June the 21st with guest Shannon Rosell, who's a singer-songwriter from Kawartha Lakes. So I want to welcome Keysha Freshh. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm just going to
Thanks for having me.
Great. So you were born in Toronto and you wrote your first song. You had your first song published at age 5. If anything is incorrect here, please interrupt me. You began performing locally that same year, and you started writing your own music and rapping at age 11, which is incredible. In 2010, Keysha was invited to New York City to shoot her first music video, Hollywood Fresh, with Doug E. Fresh, who gave her the name Fresh as an add-on to Keysha. And your birth name, of course, is Keysha Fanfare. Keysha released her first project entitled This Is Keysha in 2009, which is a USA only release. And since then, Keysha has released 7 solo projects. She was part of an all-female cipher involving 3 other female Toronto rappers that went viral on International Women's Day in 2016. The 4 rappers formed a group, the Sorority, later that year, releasing music throughout 2016 and 2017. In 2018, the Sorority released their debut album, Pledge, and embarked on their first headlining tour. Keysha was the first female rapper in Canada to have 3 songs in rotation on commercial radio at the same time in 2010. Wow. And that same year, she also became the first musician to shoot a music video inside the Empire State Building since 9/11. In November 2016, Keysha released her 6th EP, In Samadhi, which received critical acclaim, and the EP was chosen for the Pigeon and Plains Best of 2016 staff picks. In June 2019, Keysha released her much anticipated 8th solo project, Field Trip, to positive reviews. And in May 2019, Keysha teamed up with Canadian hip hop artist Socrates and DJ Nana to release her anti-gun violence anthem in the wake of 400 shootings in Toronto in 2018. So thank you so much for being here. Really looking forward to talking with you, Keysha.
Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna have like a interview style program. Then we'll open it up to questions. And then at the end, if anybody has a song that they would like to share, we're going to have some time for that. If nobody wants to, that's fine. I have one that I can share. And what we can do is just mostly just talk about the lyrics and maybe the song. I don't know. We'll see what Keysha wants to do. We might talk about the song structure or anything like that. Maybe we'll start off. I think we had a little chat before this, and this was one of the questions that came up, and then we decided we're just going to leave this and we're going to talk about this today. So the question is, how do your lyrics come to you, and what kind of process do you usually go through to produce a song?
Well, my lyrics kind of come to me in the sense of like, inspiration from things around me, from situations, relationships, whatever kind of sparks a moment. When I was a lot younger and I was just getting into the music industry, and working with record labels and stuff like that, it was kind of more of a timeline, like, oh, we have a studio session today, so you have to make sure that you have this and this, like things were more timeline. Whereas now I just kind of do what I feel and what feels right. So there might be spells where I don't write for maybe 3 or 4 months, and there's times where I'm writing all day, every day. So nowadays, again, a lot of it comes from personal experiences. My music, I've always kind of prided myself on writing and making music about my personal experiences and things that I'm feeling or going through or dealing with, or my friends or my family's dealing with in the moment. So inspiration for me kind of comes from every and anywhere.
Okay, great. So you don't really have any problem coming up with the material. You don't kind of have to make yourself sit down and kind of like make yourself, it just happens. It's more like an organic thing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to when I was on other people's time, but now that I'm on my time, it's more just, do I feel like writing today? Nah. Like I said, there's times I go 3-4 months without writing anything, and then there's times where I'm writing all day, every day. So yeah, it's for when I let it flow. I don't. Before I used to, subscribe to the theory of writer's block and stuff, but I don't believe in those things. I just believe in your mind is not flowing and certain times, and that's okay. So I don't force it.
Yeah, it's like you have to live in order to have something to write about, right?
Exactly. Experience things. Yep.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite song or artist at the moment?
Right currently, my favorite song is called Lupita by a group called NSG. They're kind of like an Afrobeats hip hop group from the UK. Um it's a big group of people. There's about 6 of them, or 5 or 6 of them in the group. So that's kind of what I've been listening to on repeat for the past maybe 2 weeks, week or so. As far as favorite artists go, right currently is J. Cole. He just released a new album and I've been listening to that a lot. So yeah.
Excellent. Do you kind of listen to it until it doesn't sound so good anymore, until you've had enough, or just until you find something else?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to force myself to stop listening to songs because I don't want to play it out. So I'll okay, don't listen to that song for the day. But I'm very much, when I like something, I'm in it. So I'll listen to a song literally on repeat for hours and hours. With the J. Cole, kind of when it's, well, I'm not really big on albums these days because I don't feel like people are making albums that you can play without skipping. I feel like people are having single driven albums where every song tries to be a single and none are really, it's not like fluid like it used to be back in the day. So it's hard for me to sit down and listen to an album per se. However, with this J. Cole album, there is a theme to it. So I was able to kind of play it and just do my thing and listen to it. I'm like, wow, this sounds really good. So yeah, that with that, I mean, I haven't given it the card test yet, but that's kind of when I'm going on my drives and stuff. That's when I really get to listen to the album. And again, there's songs that I'll pull from it, like, okay, this is my favorite, this is my favorite, and then I'll listen to those on repeat all the time. So it depends.
And then do those favorite songs that you're listening to, is that influencing the music that you're writing, or it's just kind of going in on the back burner? Maybe you'll bring it out, like the influence maybe will come out at another time.
Influence, not so much, but like inspire, as far as like getting me to get up and actually like, okay, yeah, I want to write now. That has happened, like I've listened to a song and I'm like, yeah, let me go grab my pen. Like I want to write. It inspires me to actually get up and write. But music I listen to doesn't necessarily influence um anything that I write. I try not to listen to music with the ear of, like, can I write something like this? Only because I don't want it to sound like that. It's kind of easy when you're listening to one artist I don't listen to one genre of music like all the time, because when you do, that becomes how you write. That becomes in that, subconsciously or consciously, you end up writing like that. So I try not to focus in on one particular sound or genre, all the time. So when I do write, it's everything. It's all the sounds that have been influencing my whole life. So yeah.
Excellent. So for you, I guess this is related to the last question, but what's the most exciting thing happening in music right now?
The most exciting thing happening in music is probably TikTok,
Mhm.
if I'm being honest. You know, when I think about it and you look at um what's happening with the streaming and social media, you know, music is no longer, people aren't trying to get on the Billboard charts anymore. They're trying to get on the TikTok charts because TikTok apparently has a charts for music now. So, you know, I think that's very interesting that people are making songs to cater towards 15 to 30-second dances.
Mhm.
So, you know, there's songs where I know the whole hook of the song super well, but I can't tell you who sings it, you know, anything. It's just because I hear it from TikTok and it's on Instagram and everything all day. So, you know, I think record labels are now looking for the next big thing to blow up through TikTok. Like people are being discovered through that app. So, you know,
Mhm.
I think, to be honest, right now, that's the most interesting thing happening.
Yeah, because completely unknown people, completely independent unknown people are the ones that are the next big thing, right? And that's really, it's really exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
How is COVID changing your world as a person and as an artist? How's it been?
Um, COVID is kind of shaping things for me. Just it's kind of slowed me down in the sense of I'm used to performing and touring and traveling. And not being able to do that and get on stage and tour is, you know, it's pretty difficult,
Yeah.
you know. So I
Yeah.
think for me that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, I feel for you, and I mean, I'm not really in that world in any way. Just I'm just scratching the outside of it. But from what I can hear and see on social media, and it looks really, it's been really rough on people. And hopefully, the worst is behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do you have a song that you're most proud of writing?
Wow. I never got asked that. That's a good one. Whew. Song I'm most proud of. Gee.
Or maybe like, maybe not like now, but maybe at the time. I don't know. At the time, maybe when you wrote it and it was like, um,
You know, hmm. A song I'm probably most proud of writing would probably be a song that I wrote called See Nobody. That would have been on an album I did called Vanity. Um at the time, because it was one of the first songs where I really got to dive into my feelings. Um like I said, all of my songs are, you know, they're based on something. They're inspired by something in my life. But that song was me getting really like raw and getting into actually speaking about like the struggles I felt and was facing as an artist. And so performing that song, you know, the beat was very simple. The song was stripped down. And performing that song the way that I was able to perform it was kind of like, it was always special. So I feel like that song for me was really impactful. And then recently on my last album, Field Trip, it would have been a song called Calls, featuring Layla Day, because I actually produced that song. That was my first time like actually getting into production that deep, and I was able to design that song from the ground up. Usually, when I work on albums, a producer will submit a beat to me. I'll go through beats and then write two beats. But with this, I was able to craft that beat from the beginning. I knew exactly how I wanted the song to sound and feel. I knew who I wanted to be on the song before I wrote it. Like every aspect, every little part of that song, I designed. So that, like I would say recently, that song is, I'm very proud of that song.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. So you're learning more about like all of the other aspects besides the writing, like the maybe the technical side of it, the
Oh yeah.
production. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school for audio engineering and then, more behind the scenes stuff in music. In 2012, I went to Seneca. And so I kind of had those things. I never put them to work. So this was the first album where I actually put those things to work, and it was beautiful. It felt good. It was a lot of work, like a lot of work, but it felt great.
So I just want to go back to the first song that you were talking about. You were able to kind of access something emotional that you hadn't been able to access before. And that was kind of like a first for you. I was part of a discussion yesterday where the person wasn't sure why they were sharing music and what was the impetus and what is it behind sharing music that's so important to him. This was it was a singing circle that we were in, and he's a singer-songwriter, and he had shared a song, and then it was kind of like this long discussion that we were in. So I don't know if it's like when you kind of make yourself vulnerable and you share in a way maybe that you can't really do in any other aspect of life that I can think of, like share maybe poetry, but that's different too. Like you're performing it. It has, it has music, which is different.
Right.
So yeah, so it's the writing of it and then the sharing of it, the performing of it. And there's just so many different aspects to it.
Exactly.
Which is I mean, there's just so much, there's learning that's going to go on for life, right? It's like a journey that's
Doesn't end.
never going to end.
Doesn't end. But you know
Yeah.
what? It's a fun ride. I don't complain.
Yeah, and it never gets easier, right? It's always
Exactly.
like sharing that stuff and being vulnerable. It's always going to be challenging. But most people who start, they keep going, right?
Exactly.
And you've been at it since like such a young age. And have you been writing and performing that whole time, or did you kind of like, did you always know that you were going to be in this for life?
Yeah, I mean, I remember being 5 and 6 years old and my older cousin taking me to the studio. And just being in that environment, I thought was so cool. And I grew up watching a lot of music videos and stuff. And I remember, being 9 years old writing stuff. I remember being all these young ages performing and wanting to write. I didn't want to necessarily just recite what I heard. I wanted to write to what I heard. So I remember just being really young and wanting to write. When my first song was published at 5, that came from me not wanting to do the actual schoolwork that I was given, where we had to draw something about summertime, something that represents summer. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to write a song. So my teacher let me be the exception and write a song. And they liked it so much as a 5-year-old. So that's why they publish it in the local paper. So I just always had this, my dad is a journalist. I've always had this thing for writing and expressing myself through my pen. So it was a no brainer when I was like 12. I said to my mom, I want to be a rapper. And she was like, okay, I was singing before that, but I didn't like singing that much at the time. And I didn't feel like my voice was strong enough, but I wanted to be a rapper. So my parents were like, cool, That's great. They supported my dreams and they still do. So yeah.
That's awesome. Do you have experience like with improvising? I know, I don't know, I shouldn't say I know, but like, do you do that? And is it easy for you? Is it something you enjoy?
Like freestyling.
Yeah.
I used to. I always say that ability makes a better rapper. So it's something that I used to do all the time in practice. That's when some of my hottest bars would come, just like in the shower. I'm just rapping to myself, or just whatever little task you do around. I was constantly freestyling and rapping to myself, and that's kind of how my bars would come in school. I remember in school, all my friends, we used to have freestyle battles and rap, and I was like the only girl, and they'd always put me up, like, Keysha could do it, Keysha. So I was kind of forced to, in a sense. So, it just kind of became a thing where it was like, okay, you know, but it's like practicing for me. I'll do it sometimes just to practice, and it keeps your sword sharp, in my opinion. So, but it's not something that I particularly like to do professionally. Like, as competition, there's a lot of battles and stuff, like battle raps and stuff, and I don't want to be in that kind of arena. I prefer to have something well written. But it's a fun thing to do, so I don't mind.
And did you get some good lyrics that you could use, like in
Oh
that?
yeah, often, yeah. You come up with a good one or two lines all the time, and that's why I encourage young MCs to just do it. Just rap to yourself. Just rap to yourself, and you might get a line that surprises you, and you're like, "Oh, that was cool," and write it down and build from there. So,
Mhm.
that's usually how a great song starts. Someone just thought of something, like I'm driving, and I'm just rapping to myself, and something pops in my head, and I'm like, "Oh crap, I got to remember that," and songs have been built from that for sure. So yeah.
Awesome. Do you ever just record it while you're freestyling?
All the time. I have so many voice notes in my phone of one-liners. It's crazy. Yeah.
Awesome. So, do you have an area of music or songwriting or performing that you would like to kind of focus on and develop more?
Um, an area that I would like to develop more in my particular genre. Um, Everything, I'm always trying to grow and learn more. I've been writing for so long that I feel like nothing in particular needs to be better because it's lacking. I think everything needs to always be better all the time. So my attitude is like, everything is good, but everything is never going to be great. So it's about making everything great all the time and constantly striving for that at the very least. So that's probably what I would say for that. Yeah.
That's a great answer. Um, so the next one, I didn't ask you this one before, I didn't sort of go over this one with you, but it just came to me before we met today. And that is, so what's the best and the worst thing about having your voice and your fame and your experience? Like, are there things that you're made to feel like you should be doing, or is it kind of like, is it pressure? Is it or do you feel like you're enjoying having the focus, and the attention, and that you're able to say what you want and need to say?
The best and the worst thing. Yeah, I mean, the best thing is being independent, I own all my masters, I own all my publishing, I own all my music, and I pretty much can and do whatever I want with it. Um And for someone who's been making music for professionally for the past 13 years, almost 14 years,
Yeah.
that's an amazing feat,
Mhm.
to be able to say that I own everything. So,
That
I
is.
hold I do hold that very near and dear. I don't work on anyone's timeline. Like I said, if I wake up today and I'm like, oh, I want to write something cool. If I don't, I do I kind of just do what I want. I turn things down if I don't want to do it. I don't have anyone I don't have to, I don't have like, oh, you got to pay the label, you got to work so you can pay your manager. Like, I don't necessarily have those situations where I have to make sure that I'm taking things I don't want to take, gigs I don't want to take. So everything kind of works on my say so. Just the only challenge with that is it's like, okay, not having that label push when you do release music. When I was part of the sorority, we didn't necessarily have a label, but we did have a lot of backing, which kind of helped for our solo careers. We had a lot of like Spotify and those kind of big marketing machines, supporting us. Like, we had real relationships and we still do to this day. So, but just as a solo artist, it's just a little different because we had a manager, we had a booking agent and stuff like that. And now it's kind of like, as a solo artist, those things don't necessarily just trickle down to our solo career. Our booking agent was the booking agent for the group. They're not our solo booking agents. So it's just kind of about, re-establishing relationships and networking. And I did, because I started so young. I started in the industry at 15, and I was, performing in 19 plus venues at 16. I was touring and traveling at such a young age. I'm still young, but I'm tired. You know what I mean? Like, I'm still, I'm turning 28 in a few weeks, but I feel like I've done the music industry like twice, so it's like, it's almost tiring to, it's like, oh, okay, guys, got to put out another album. We got to do this whole process. This is going to be the 11th time because I have, 8 solo projects and 2 group projects. It's like, okay, another for the 11th time. Here we go. So, but it's fun. When you love something, it's fun. The sweat equity and stuff like that can, be draining, but it's like becoming a parent or any of those kind of things. It's tough, but you go through it. So, that's just another one of those things. So it has its upsides. I tell people all the time, the music industry is not, Candyland. It's not, Disney World. It's not a fun and loving place. It's a dog eat dog place. It's a place where you encounter a lot of heartbreak, a lot of disappointment, a lot of deceit all the time. So if you don't love it, if music is just a hobby, then let it be a hobby. Because once you get into the industry, it's a complete different thing. So
Did you
yeah.
know that going in? Like, did you have a lot of people in the know that were kind of guiding you as a young person? Because, like, for you to own everything and to have made it, this long, or was it just something you learned as you went along?
Well, 2 things. I had cousins who have tried their hand at kind of rapping in the industry. They were all kind of like jaded because things didn't work out the way they wanted to. So I've heard their stories, from when I was young. But another thing is my very first experience working with a record label, I was burned. So at 16, I knew what a bad contract was. I knew what shady people were. I knew what they sounded like. At 17, I decided, or 18, I decided to go to school and learn about contracts, learn about how to navigate the music industry on my own. So that now when I'm an adult, I'm 19, I'm 18, 19, 20, and okay, I can handle this myself. I know how to read a contract because I took a course on that. I know how to apply for grants because I took a course on that. I knew how to fund a tour because I studied this stuff. So the experience for me was hands on. Like, yes, people told me how bad the industry was, but like literally my first experience was bad. So after this, I was very, closed fist. I was very much skeptical of everything. And even being in the sorority, like I was always the one that would stress the manager out the most because, he at the time, he gets it now, but at the time he might have thought I was just being really hard, or I didn't trust him. But my thing is, I don't trust anybody in the music industry. So, you're my guy, you're our manager, and I obviously trust you enough to be our manager. But if I'm asking to see the books, or I'm asking for certain details of certain things that you're signing on our behalf, it's not because I don't trust you, it's because I don't trust anyone. So, I really became, hardened, and just based on my first experience in it. So
Awesome. The last question I have is, and it's very much, it's very related to what you were just saying, but do you have any other advice for beginner songwriters, performers who want to get into the industry?
yeah, do research. It's cliche to say like, oh, research, but at the end of the day, it's literally going to protect you and possibly save your life. A lot of people think lawyers are expensive, but I'll tell you from experience, lawyers are more expensive when they have to get you out of a situation than they are when they have to look over something for you before you go into a situation. So you can weigh where you want to be. I tell artists all the time, it's cheaper to have a lawyer look over a contract for you and make edits than it is for a lawyer to get you out of a bad contract. So, if this is what you want to do and this is something that you want to pursue actively as a career, then my best advice is to just don't take any shortcuts. Take the long way. The scenic route is the best route, I promise. There's times where I get to my destination, I reach the end of a goal, and I'm like, this was great. I'm so happy I got here. But the thing that I remember the most, or what makes me the most emotional, was the journey and how I got to something. So always appreciate the journey, appreciate the road it took to get to that final thing. Because those are the memories that stick with you once the show is over, as we like to say. So that would probably be my biggest advice.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions now, you feel free. You can either turn your mic on or turn your camera on, whichever you want.
I have a question.
Sure.
So what inspired you to start rapping or writing songs?
Wow. What inspired me? I grew up obviously in Toronto, but so the only urban radio station that we used to get in Toronto before Flow came along was a station called WBLK. That station is actually in Buffalo. So sometimes you didn't get it all the time, but you would get it sometimes. And because I live in the East, I got it, it a little bit, here, but that station, as a child, me and my brothers my mom would keep the radio on so we could sleep. It helped us sleep. So that's the station that would play. So I would be able to hear like R&B music and rap music. And I just remember like listening to this music and just feeling like, oh man, like I just love the way it sounds. It sounds so cool, And then, my uncles and my brothers used to have cassettes of these rappers that we would bring back when we went to our summer trips in New York. So, it was just hearing it. And I just thought this is so witty. It's cool. It's fun. It's, so from a young age, hearing music, just hearing it inspired me.
Mm-hmm. I have another question.
Yeah.
If you could have a collaboration with any singer in the world, who would it be?
Man, she's no longer with us, because my answer would have been Whitney Houston. But I would say right now, Music Soul Child.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So we can, did anybody have a song that they wanted to share tonight? Because what we can do is we can do that. I can kind of end this part of the session. And then we can move to that part of the session. So why don't we kind of say goodbye, but not really, because I'm going to stop recording now.